That's fine. All right, Carl, you're up.
Okay, let's take a roll call here. Is for purposes of our first case, we don't have our court reporter yet. We don't have Neil Gehring yet, but I just wanted to figure out who might be out in the lobby that was an attendee, not a presenter. Is James Wilson or Lauren Latner either connected? Jim Wilson. Okay, let's take a roll call here. Okay, someone needs to mute. Someone needs to mute because we got the delay. Thanks. Yeah.
The person that entered by phone, you need to mute your computer.
I think they did, though. Is Rick Dostal present and/or Jennifer Casey?
We're both here, but we're on the phone, so let me get everything muted.
Okay, thank you. So we'll try again real quick. Then is James Wilson or Lauren Latner present?
Jennifer Casey and Rick Dostal here.
Okay, yeah, I knew that. Okay. Well, we're waiting on our fourth board member. We're waiting on our court stenographer, and we're waiting for the appellant. So we'll just be in stand down mode for a minute.
Yes, we are seeing 4 persons that are attendees. Basically, we can see who is looking online. It may be that is the only thing you could do is view online. If you are scheduled to be a presenter today and you are not able to interact with us and are only able to see it, then I recommend that you call in to the phone number and the password given to you by Ms. Steer, our board executive secretary, in the email invitation. That way you can at least participate by phone.
Well, do we have, while I move on, do we real quickly, because we have the same jurisdiction for the next case. Do we have Richard Schultz, Joe Allen, or Mike Chevalier present?
This is Richard. I am obviously present. I had told Susan that the fire chief would probably call in, and Joe Allen is a union electrician in an industrial plant in Marietta, and he's at work. I might be able to get a hold of him. He's not allowed to have his cell phone on the floor where he's working.
Well, we don't want necessarily, I have him listed as
Okay.
as someone who may make an appearance on behalf of the appellant. If that's not the case, so be it. And then go ahead, though. You were going to finish.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm hoping the fire chief will call in.
Okay.
He was having difficulty figuring out the link this morning when we were emailing. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, we're still in stand down mode because we don't. Have you heard from Tammy yet, Susan?
Yes, I'm working on it though, as well as Mike Chevalier.
Okay. Well, Neil. Hopefully
Yes,
so.
Neil.
All right. I guess you'd call this a Monday morning. So I forwarded an email. I can't remember his first name. Adverse parties. Adverse parties can be liars. Liars are walking away. It's all of us. So we got to run, obviously, the conflict check on the fires. I got something to bounce off of.
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
Hi, this is Tammy. I'm the court reporter, and I can't get in by video, so I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Hang on there.
So I'm gonna do the phone too.
Okay, I'll let them know.
I'll just call in.
Hello?
All right, you got the number?
Yeah, it should be on the
Hello?
camera, right?
Yeah.
All
It's,
right, hold on.
yes,
Someone else
it
is
is.
trying to, who else is in? Who just said hello?
Sorry,
This is
Carl.
Tammy.
No, I know Tammy just said, it was a male voice. Someone just said hello.
Oh,
Yeah, this is James Wilson. I'm the architect, and I have the owner with me. We've been logged in, but we've been unable to be heard until now. Hello?
All right, so people have to mute. Hold on. If you're on the phone, please mute, okay? So we have James Wilson and Lauren Latner with you then, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and we have Jennifer Casey and we have Rick Dostal, correct?
correct.
Okay, and Tammy, you're live but on phone, correct?
That is correct. I'm going to try to re-log in on the computer.
Well, while we're doing the hearing, that would be, you want to just try it real quick before we start the meetings? Is that what you're saying?
I'm doing it right now, but we can go ahead and start.
Okay, and Neil, you're on the phone?
Neil is calling in. I just hung up the phone with him. He's supposed to call in.
All right, well, Tammy, go ahead and try to log in.
Okay.
Neil just entered.
Okay.
Who's
Tammy,
it?
are you trying to come in on Internet Explorer?
Yes.
That's the problem. I think you have to come in. Do you have Google Chrome?
Yes.
Okay, you haven't been before, or you haven't been used or before the board for a while now. So yeah, they eliminated Internet Explorer a few months ago.
Okay.
That is probably the problem for you.
Why can't I get in?
That I don't know.
But I have everything in front of me. I got the Dropbox in front of me, so I'm good to go on the phone.
Okay.
I'm trying again, but we'll see. I keep getting this sign-in message.
Yeah, Neil, it kicked me out this morning because it wanted a new password. So I actually had to go back in through the state employee login site to reset my password and then come back and use the new password. So I had that same problem this morning.
All right, well, I'll do that while we're doing the cases. I'll try to get my password redone.
I see you, Tammy.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up the phone then.
Okay. Great.
Okay, I think we're ready to go then. Good morning, everybody. This is Monday morning, February 22nd, and the board of 4 of us today instead of 5, due to a scheduling conflict, is convened to consider our docket, and just for purposes of the record, because we had some technical issues with people logging in. It's 8:45. First case we have set on our docket is the Southeastern Ohio Building Authority case, and that is case number 21-0012. That deals with the premises known as the Farmer's Daughter and Son Event Center located in Coolville, and Southeastern Ohio Building Authority's adjudication number is noted on our docket. We did a roll call before, but I'll make sure we have Mr. Wilson, would you enter your appearance, state your full name, spell your last name, and the capacity by which you're here? We'll do the same thing with Ms. Latner, and then we'll move on to the building department.
My name's James H. Wilson, and that's Wilson. And I'm a registered architect in the state of Ohio and authored the plans that you're looking at. I'd also like to state that it's in Marietta, Ohio, not Coolville.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Latner?
Yes, my name is Lauren. Last name is Latner, Lattner, and I am the owner of the Farmer's Daughters and Son event venue in Marietta, Ohio.
Thank you. Mr. Dostal?
Yes, this is Rick Dostal. I'm the CBO of Southeast Ohio Building Department.
Thank you. And Ms. Casey?
This is Jennifer Casey. I'm the plans examiner for the Southeast Ohio Building Department.
Okay, does that conclude the parties that'll be present today? Sounds like.
I'm sorry, this is Richard. Did you miss me? For
No,
this?
we're not.
I thought you were still.
No, we're on the first case. We're on the.
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
Okay. All right. If Ms. Latner, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Dostal, and Ms. Casey would stand, raise your right hand. Tammy, would you administer an oath, please? Tammy?
You're muted, Tammy.
You're muted, Tammy. You're muted.
Okay, if you raise your right hands, I will try it again. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll let the record reflect that the oath was administered. We are a board, as I indicated, of 4 today. Our 5th member had a scheduling conflict due to a trial. Is there any trepidation by proceeding in front of a board of 4 today rather than 5, Mr. Wilson?
No, we don't have any problem at all.
Okay, and Mr. Dostal?
We have no problem.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, you have the floor.
The Farmers, Daughters, and Son Event Center was a previously occupied commercial building, and Ms. Lattner didn't realize that she needed to get plan approval to change it to the event center. And the building department, of course, told her otherwise, and that's when I got involved. The issue that we're asking a variance for is an automatic fire suppression system. And it's not because of the cost or because Ms. Lattner doesn't want to install it. It's because there's not adequate water to install it. The design of the building originally had a full commercial kitchen, which we took out and changed it to a caterer's kitchen, thereby getting rid of one of the primary fire hazards that was in the building. We added an additional exit to get everywhere in the building is within 60 feet of an exit. And if you look at the plan, you'll notice that it's a very simple plan. There's not storage rooms or HVAC closets or all the kinds of places that normally fires start. And we think the simplicity of the plan, the small size of the building, and the short travel distance mitigates the hazard fairly well of not having the automatic fire suppression system.
Okay, questions of Mr. Wilson by members of the board?
Yeah, what is the construction of the building? What is it made out of, and what can we expect?
It's a Type 5B construction. More descriptively, it's a pole building.
Okay, so there's no basement and no loft in this building?
That's correct.
Any other questions of Mr. Wilson? Mr. Dostal?
No, we have no issues.
All right, any questions of the building? The CBO?
Yeah, just a verification of the material that we have been presented, that indeed they had somebody on the city side has checked that, yes, indeed, there is inadequate water for this structure.
That is correct.
I would note for the record that we did receive, well, we received correspondence from Susan that was forwarded to us from the parties that we received late last week, but we included in that is a February 10th letter from the fire chief, which will be in our record, indicating that in pertinent part that the Reno Volunteer Fire Department has no problems, with the property owner's request. And I assume my colleagues have that letter in the file as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I have it.
okay, so let me just let's roundtable this. Are there any objections or hurdles here that would roadblock a variance, or are we comfortable with it?
I think that I could find my way to a variance. Maybe another question for the building official. The fire official had discussed adding another exit. Can you explain that conversation and where the additional exit needs to be located?
I'm gonna let Jennifer, our plan checker, take that question.
I wasn't part of that conversation. However, I've reviewed the plan. There could be an additional egress in the upper or the rear, I guess you call that the back right corner, to increase that component.
This is James Wilson. The plans show the proposed additional exit. When you're looking at the drawings, it's in the upper right-hand corner. And by adding that exit, that gets the entire, anywhere in the buildings within 60 feet of an exit.
No, I guess that he's already illustrated that.
All right, I heard, was that Ms. Latner? I mean, that's not for the record, right?
No, this is
That was
Jennifer
James
Casey.
Wilson.
Okay, all right.
We were just having a discussion that the plans that Mr. Wilson had submitted do illustrate that extra door. So the plans you're looking at have that extra door presented.
And that's Ms. Casey?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I do have an additional question about the roller doors. Can someone explain to me how those work? And are they just aesthetic? Can they be made in a permanently fixed open position? Obviously, my concern is that, somebody decides, hey, let's close those doors, and now half of the exit capacity is now gone.
This is James Wilson, the architect. The plans indicate that those doors are to be pinned permanently open to prevent them from being closed.
Okay.
I have the same concern.
Okay, Neil, what, are you okay?
Can you see me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can see you.
Yeah, I had to get the IT person in there to, I don't know what the hell they did. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
The fire department says that they're going to use the pond for, or they consider that.
Is that for this one?
Yeah, it's in his letter, I believe.
I thought that was for the second one, but
It's the second one.
Oh, wait.
we're at
It
002.
says, the last sentence, the pond located next to the building could also be utilized for firefighting. I just wonder if they should have a dry hydrant, like the other one.
Let's ask because I'm looking at an aerial map here. Is there a pond close to this?
Yeah, it's kind of on the left side of the site plan.
Okay.
It's a big pond.
There is a small pond there.
Go ahead. Is that Mr. Wilson?
Yeah. This is Rick, CBO. There is a small pond.
Okay, well,
Now,
go ahead.
that being said, I mean, we have seen many of these type of structures being used for wedding venues. And generally, if we find one that has a pond, we like to have installed a dry fire hydrant connected to that pond. That just eases the ability for the fire department to be able to utilize that water resource there. I would just want to make sure that there's not any objections to that.
I don't think there would be any objection to it. I know that the fire chief, when I had discussions with him, he liked the fact that the pond was there because he figured that they'd just throw one of their snorkels in it and access the water that way because it's so close.
Yeah, which makes it a little bit more difficult if it's as cold as it's been the last couple of weeks. As you, I'm sure, are aware, right? If there's a dry hydrant there, then they don't have to worry about breaking through the ice, and that any time savings is I think probably worth the effort.
I sort of took, I could be wrong, I sort of took Mr. Wilson's comments to be as modestly no objection to that imposed condition. Is that true, Mr. Wilson?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So the question is, though, if this board, as a condition of a variance, were to impose that condition, would you object to that?
No.
Okay. All right. Brad, where are you on this?
Yeah, I can support it with the condition of the hydrant, and I'm not sure what else Paul is coming up with, but I guess the usual, I guess they have smoke detectors and so forth, and off-site monitoring, in this case, alarm systems.
That'd probably be a good question for the architect.
The building does have the fire alarm system as required by the building code. It's not a monitored system, though.
Okay, I think that would be probably something that we would require. You know, if we're removing a required system, in this case, the sprinkler system, I think we would want to make sure that notification requires more than somebody to just pick up a phone and call the fire department.
Well, why don't, if you're in a position to run down some proposed conditions, maybe we walk through those to advance the ball here, or do you need a minute or two, Paul?
I need another minute, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right. For the purpose of the parties, we're going to go off the record for just a second. Tammy, off the record. We'll resume in a minute.
All right. It is a Monday and a nice slow start, but I think I'm ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Tammy, we're back on, please. Before you exhaust yourself here, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Latner, Mr. Dostal, and Ms. Casey, are you still with us?
Yes.
We are.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Paul.
And what I'm going to do is put up on the screen some proposed conditions. Those of you that are watching online, there is about a 10-second delay for that. And as it is a Monday, it is taking a little bit longer as well.
We can't see them.
All right.
Okay, this is James Wilson. I'm the architect. The owner and I don't have video capability.
So we're going to read these to you, Mr.
I'm going to read them too as soon as I can figure out how to get them back up online here.
Okay.
There we go. The variance is conditioned upon the following. Number one, an alternate fire alarm system shall be installed and maintained comprising of a remote annunciator at the front entrance, system smoke detectors with integral heat detectors throughout the entire structure, audible/visual devices throughout the entire structure, and pull stations at all identified means of egress. Number two, the alternate fire alarm system shall be required to be off-premise monitored in a manner approved pursuant to OBC 901.6. Number three, the alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be considered required systems and listed as such on the certificate of occupancy by the building official. Number four, the alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be maintained as required systems utilizing the Ohio Fire Code and adopted NFPA standards. Number five, no cooking or cooking appliances other than warming ovens shall be permitted in the structure at any time. Number six, the storage of flammable or combustible materials shall be prohibited at any time the structure is utilized for assembly purposes. Number seven, an additional exit door shall be provided at the northeast corner of the structure with appropriate exit signage and a pull station. The exit door shall be provided with a frost slab. Number eight, a dry fire hydrant shall be installed adjacent to the structure, connected into the adjacent pond to the satisfaction of the fire official. Number nine, the above conditions shall be listed as special conditions on the certificate of occupancy. Number 10, this variance is granted based on the use, construction, occupant load, project area and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required herein. And finally, number 11, the chief building official shall forward a copy of any certificate of occupancy to the fire department having either emergency response or fire prevention responsibility.
Okay, so Mr. Wilson, that was 11 proposed conditions, and I know you're at a disadvantage not being able to have reviewed those on screen. But do you have any questions of Mr. Began with respect to those, or do you need us to review any one of those with you again?
I understand what it is that you're asking for. I know that my client has some concerns about the hydrant.
Hi, this is Lauren Latner, the homeowner and business owner. If I may, I guess my concern is the hydrant. I do know that when I spoke with the fire chief and his letter, the firehouse is less than 2 miles away, and it's staffed 24/7. He also indicates that there's 2 hydrants also, one that's 0.9 miles and one that is less than 2 miles. And as far as the pond goes, the pond actually is not part of that commercial property. So I guess my
Is it a
concern
property
is
that you own though, however?
I do own it. It's
Okay.
my home. Yeah. So that is correct. I do own it. I guess I just am.
How far is the pond from the commercial property?
I'm sorry again, sir?
How far is the pond from the commercial property?
Approximately 100 yards.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, and I'm only one of the board members, again, it's a low cost item. Obviously, much less expensive than putting in a storage tank and a fire pump and a generator to put a sprinkler system in the building. And like to be able to provide as much safety as possible while still granting a variance to allow you not to put in the sprinkler system. I mean, that's
Okay.
my.
Right. And I guess maybe it's just that I'm not familiar with the hydrant or the dry hydrant or what the cost is associated with it. So, that's my bad. I'm not familiar with it or what it really consists of, so.
Well, I honestly wouldn't know the cost of that myself, but maybe one or more of my board members or Mr. Dostal, Ms. Casey might, Mr. Wilson might.
We do not have that information.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson?
All right, so it sounds like Mr. Began would be of the persuasion that in order to vote in favor of a variance, that condition would have to be imposed. From his viewpoint, I'll just ask my other colleagues. Neil?
I agree with Paul. I'm in favor of it with the dry hydrant in place.
And Brad?
Yeah, it's just cost of a fire hydrant and, length of fire pipe to run it into the pond. So it's not an exorbitant, in my opinion, cost to do something like this. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'd support the fire hydrant.
Okay, well, I think we're going to be at a point where we're gonna I'd entertain a motion. I would agree. with my colleagues. But before we do so, anything further, Mr. Wilson and or Mr. Dostal?
No, we further.
Okay, very good. Paul, I'd accept a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, for Board of Appeals case number 21-0012. The appellant is Lauren Latner for the premises Farmers, Daughters, and Son Event Center at 610 Goose Run Road, Marietta, Ohio, 45750. The appellee is Christopher Wilson, building official for the Southeast Ohio Building Department, and adjudication order number 101.21. I move to grant the variance subject to the conditions previously read in the record and noting the no objection of the building and fire officials.
Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
And there's a second for Mr. Gehring. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, Mr. Wilson and Ms. Latner, the variance is granted on those 11 conditions by a vote of 4-0 on this board, by this board, I should say. Anything further, Mr. Wilson?
No, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Dostal, anything further from the building department?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so that will conclude that case. I know we have Mr. Schultz on, and we have obviously Mr. Dostal and Ms. Casey are present for the second case. Is what did we find out about Mr. Chevalier, Susan?
He is present by phone.
Okay, and then what about Joe Allen?
I don't believe he's attending, but Richard Schultz can.
Okay, Mr. Schultz, do you know anything about the participation of Mr. Allen today?
Joe is not going to attend because of work.
Right, you got that. All right, you told us that.
If we really needed him, so he's not going to attend.
Okay, and then what about Jason Baughman? Susan, or Mr. Dostal?
Yeah, Mr. Dostal will be the CBO.
I got you.
Jason Baughman for us for a short time.
Right, understood. Thank you. Okay, well then, we'll stay on the record. Let's call the next case. This also is a Southeastern Building Authority case. This is case number 21, excuse me, -0016, and it deals with the premises that is referred to as the Fox Meadow Event Center. Now, this one is located in Coolville, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And the building department's adjudication number is noted on the docket. Mr. Schultz, Mr. Chevalier, would you enter your appearances and state your full name, spell your last name, and then indicate for purposes of our record the capacity by which you're here representing the appellant or speaking on behalf of the appellant?
Okay.
Good morning.
Richard. My name's Richard. Hold on, Mike. This is Richard Schultz, SHULTZ. I'm the architect for the owner.
Thank you. And Mike?
Yes, sir. I'm Mike Chevalier. I'm the fire chief and safety inspector for Little Hocking Volunteer Fire Department in Belpre Township.
Understood. Thank you. And Mr.
My last name is...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Spelling of my last name is CHEVALIER.
And Mr. Dostal, Ms. Casey?
Yeah, Jennifer Casey, Southeast Ohio Building Department Plans Examiner.
Rick Dostal, Southeast Ohio Building Department, CBO.
Okay, Mr. Schultz, Chief, Mr. Dostal and Ms. Casey, would you stand, raise your right hand? Tammy, would you administer an oath?
If you raise your right hands, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, for the benefit of everybody, but maybe the chief, you heard from the last hearing, our fire official member, who also is a lawyer, has a trial that he could not avoid. in court. So he will not be with us today. So we will be a board of 4 rather than a board of 5. Mr. Schultz, are you comfortable proceeding in that format?
Yes, I am. I'm comfortable.
Very good. Mr. Dostal?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Mr. Schultz, you have the floor. Okay.
So this is a new build on the owner's property. His residence is on the same property. It's a post-frame build, post-frame construction, 3,600 square feet. It is one large event hall with 2 dressing rooms, 2 accessible restrooms, and a catering kitchen for warming only. He has approximately a 1-acre pond on that site that he will install a dry hydrant on. The service rooms, the dressing rooms, bathrooms, and catering kitchen are all have heat and air conditioning. The event center itself, the large hall, is without HVAC. It's a seasonal business that probably function through October. There are 2 large sliding doors plus 3 exits that are all within 60 feet of each other approximately. Everything exits to grade. And the building, is naturally ventilated with roof cupolas and those large sliding doors. And based on the owner's business plan, this is the direction he would like to take, that this business would be seasonal. So we're asking relief for a fully automated sprinkler system and for an HVAC climate or environmentally controlled system for the large event room itself. We are proposing to put a multi-zone fire alarm system in the building, as well as that dry hydrant. And that's about the gist of it.
Okay. Questions of folks, please. Someone will need to mute. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Paul Began. I'd like Mr. Schultz to explain. I'm only seeing 2 exit doors on this plan. Unless he thinks that perhaps exiting through a commercial kitchen, which is not permitted by the code, is also an additional exit.
On the floor plan, there's a door number 14. It's 2 3-foot doors. That is the 3rd exit. There's an exit, door 11 and door 2.
I see, out to the covered porch area?
Yes, and that covered porch is at grade.
Okay.
Exits directly at grade.
Are the other 2 egress doors, do they have frost slabs?
No, that was a good comment. They don't have frost slabs, and that would be a good addition.
Is there any, and I didn't see it on the drawings, is there any attic or loft space in here?
There's attic space that is over the 2 not the storage rooms, excuse me. There's attic space over the dressing rooms, the restrooms, and the catering kitchen.
Okay, now that is not space that is accessible by the public?
That's correct. It's not accessible. And I will say for the storage rooms, kind of based on the comment of the previous case, the storage rooms are just for tables and chairs.
Okay.
So what is actually going to take place in the catering kitchen? Is it just warming device?
Yeah, just warming. Yeah, only warming ovens. Yeah, there's nothing for cooking in there.
By warming ovens, what do you mean?
Probably microwaves and slow cookers, chafing dishes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Schultz? Do we want to hear from the chief first? We'll hear from Chief. Go ahead. You have the floor if you care to present.
Yes, sir. This is Mike Chevalier. As I said, I'm the fire chief of Little Hocking. I've spoke to Mr. Schultz and also to Mr. Allen concerning this construction. They agreed to put the dry hydrant in. In fact, they suggested it before I even had a chance to talk to them about it. I don't really have any objections. Our fire department is a fully volunteer department. Although his address is Coolville, Ohio, he is in Washington County and right on the edge of it. We've got mutual aid agreements with fire departments in Athens County and Washington County both. We've got 2 fire hydrants, but they're both approximately 2 miles from that building location. I really had no objections on it other than wanted to make sure there was a fire alarm system and also that there was no open flames in the cooking area.
Questions of the fire chief? Hearing none, Mr. Dostal or Ms. Casey?
We have no issues with this.
And as we sit here, I believe the variance would include 2 items, would be also the fire suppression, which is the chief issue. And then the secondary issue is that they are asking for this to be a seasonal occupancy with the entire building will not have heating and cooling. It will just be heating and cooling in the bathrooms. And I know Mr. Schultz described that accurately in his description, but I wanted to make sure you understood that as well.
Okay, all right. I think we did. Mr. Began is probably, he's looking at his computer screen, so that probably means he's preparing some proposed conditions. Would this be a time to go off record, or are you okay?
I think maybe have a little bit more discussion, Mr. Chair, with the rest of the board members, regarding the, maintaining it as a seasonal use only, and making sure that everybody's okay with that.
Okay, well.
And the reason for that is, okay, once we take out a heater, here's the concern, right? The concern is, hey, somebody books it in October and we get a little bit of early cold spell and the bride says, my people can't stay in here, get some propane heaters, and now we have a situation. So again, I think it warrants a little bit of discussion.
Well, and so refresh my recollection, when we've imposed a similar condition on seasonal use, trying to remember, how is that a term of art? How have we defined that by months?
Yeah, again, it's kind of hard to do that. I mean, I think that, again, from my perspective, the concern is that, we would have to add a condition to prohibit the use of any type of portable heaters, right?
Mr. Schultz, you want to comment on that?
Yes, I've had discussions with Joe, the owner, if his business, well, first of all, the owner, in the long run, if his business is successful and there's a need for colder weather, November, March, things like that, he understands we need to go back and get a building permit to add a mechanical system to it. So he's well aware of that. We really haven't had a discussion about supplemental heat. I understand the concern about open flame. Does that also include like electric heaters? I understand about
Yeah, again, from my point of view, that yes, I mean, anytime you put a heater in a structure, and I think any fire official will tell you, unfortunately, our fire official is not with us right now, that the biggest risk of fire is people putting heaters on, right? And then somebody drops a napkin on it or anything else. So
Well,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know, that'd be something Mr. Allen would probably want to provide for in his contract. Uh, you know, with respect to the fact that, you know, maybe shift that contractually. You can't, you know, if the bridal party, it's too cold, that, you know, they're not going to be able to supplement the heat. But that's, you know, that's for his business to deal with at some point.
right.
So, Chief, do you have any thoughts on what Mr. Began's concerns are?
Yes, sir. I had the exact same concerns. Spoke to Mr. Schultz about that. Portable heating systems are a big risk, especially when you have that type of event where they have a tendency to want to put more combustibles in than what you would normally have. And I'm in favor of not allowing any portable heat in there.
Comfort level with that, Neil and Brad?
I'm comfortable with the no heating system, but I'm curious to Mr. Schultz, how are the restrooms and the catering kitchen? How is that conditioned?
How that's conditioned?
How's it heated?
It's a propane heater, electric air conditioning for that whole service side, not just the restrooms. So the changing rooms or dressing rooms, the catering kitchen, as well as the restrooms are all one system. And I agree about the portable heating too. That just brings more risk to it.
Brad, thoughts or comments?
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, Paul's got a good point. I've actually been to a wedding where they had propane heaters scattered around in the barn in the building, and it was kind of scary thinking that they would fire those up someday. So, well, I can support it with the conditions, you know.
Okay, let's unless there's anything else to come before the board at this point in time, let's see what Paul can craft out here and see where it gets us.
If you give me just a moment here, Mr. Chair, I should be able to put them up shortly.
Okay. Tammy, we'll just go off the record for a minute.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Tammy, let's go back on the record.
Okay.
I'm going to put them up on the screen, and as before, I'm going to read them as well too. There is a little bit of a delay for those watching separately online. There might be a delay here as well too.
normally encounter that delay.
No, it's immediate here. Assuming I can immediately get it up.
Yeah. Well, right. That's what I was saying, because it hasn't appeared yet.
Sometimes the systems are. There we go. All right, final. Variance is conditioned upon the following. Number one, an alternate fire alarm system shall be installed and maintained, comprising of a remote annunciator at the front entrance, system smoke detectors with integral heat detectors throughout the entire structure, audible/visual devices throughout the entire structure, and pull stations at all identified means of egress. Number two, the alternate fire alarm system shall be required to be off-premise monitored in a manner approved pursuant to OBC 901.6. Number three, the alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be considered required systems and listed as such on the certificate of occupancy by the building official. Number four, the alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be maintained as required systems utilizing the Ohio Fire Code and adopted NFPA standards. Number five, a dry fire hydrant shall be installed adjacent to the structure and connected into the adjacent pond to the satisfaction of the fire official. Number six, all exit doors shall be provided with a frost slab to the satisfaction of the building official. Portable fire extinguishers shall be installed and maintained at each means of egress. Number eight, the structure shall be utilized for seasonal use only. Electric or fuel-fired heating devices are prohibited within the structure at any time. Number nine, no cooking or cooking appliances shall be permitted within the structure other than warming ovens. No open flames are permitted in the kitchen area. Number 10, the storage of flammable or combustible materials shall be prohibited within the structure at any time it is utilized for assembly purposes. Number 11, this variance is granted based on the use, construction, occupant load, project area, and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required herein. And number 12, the chief building official shall forward a copy of any certificate of occupancy to the fire department having either emergency response or fire prevention responsibility.
Okay, Mr. Schultz, any questions or the need for clarification? And otherwise, what is your comfort level with those conditions as stated?
No, it all sounds good.
Very good.
Correct.
And Mr. Dostal?
It sounds real good. Thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Schultz said they sound good, and you said they sound really good. So, Chief, you want to say it? You want to comment on those, please?
Yes, I'm completely satisfied with your decision. I think they've worked with the fire department pretty well. We've been involved early on this, and I appreciate everybody's help.
We appreciate that as well. I can tell you, we commend when building departments and fire officials get interactive with the developer or the builder, or in this case, the appellant. And it sounds like that was done here. Far too many times that doesn't happen, actually. Okay, any comments by members of the board? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
I have no comments other than if everybody thinks that they're so good, the conditions, just write a nice letter to the governor saying, hey, we did a good job here. Mr. Chair, for Board of Building Appeals case number 21-0016, the appellant is Joe Allen for the premises Fox Meadow Event Center at 76 Knoll Road. That's in Coolville, Ohio. The appellee is building official for the Southeast Ohio Building Department, and adjudication order number BC 2012-W-0394. I move to grant the variance subject to the conditions previously read into the record, and noting no objection of the building and fire officials.
Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Brad, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, folks, the variance was granted on those conditions. Is there anything further, Mr. Schultz, to come in front of the board on behalf of the appellant?
No, I just want to thank everyone. The fire chief was correct. It was really positive to have good dialogues with everybody.
Yeah,
So I appreciate the help.
Yeah, it seemed collaborative. Mr. Dostal, anything further?
Thank you for all your help. We appreciate it.
Okay, very good. That concludes that case. Susan, do we have parties present for the London case? And while I ask you that, is there any need for a short break?
I would just a quick 2 minutes, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
That would be fine. Tammy, we'll go off the record for a couple minutes. And then Susan, if you would check see who's present for the next case.
I will.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Harper, do you know if Rob Shore will be attending?
He will be, Susan. However, he was having trouble getting on, so he's on speakerphone with me here in my office. Rob, could you acknowledge you're here?
Yes, this is Rob speaking.
Can you hear Susan?
Yes, I can hear him. Thank you. And I believe Alan Perkins is here representing the building department and the fire department.
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Hale will not be present. Okay.
If I may, is there any reason for Southeast Ohio to stay on the phone?
I'm sorry, who is this?
This is Rick, CBO of Southeast Ohio Building Department. Is there any reason for us to stay?
No, you can leave at any time.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. While the board's on a break, could 330-936-7331 identify yourself, please?
Morning, Susan. This is Andy Cron from Canton Fire.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We have it up on their computer screen on the Teams meeting too, but I didn't see a microphone option. I don't know if I did that right. I can see and hear, but I dialed into to speak. So.
You must be in as an attendee and then you called in, and so now you're present within the meeting. Just make sure you keep the computer muted so we don't get background noise, because there's about a 10-second delay on your computer. I'm sorry, Mr. Norman, do you know if Stephen Robinson is going to call in or be present?
My understanding is yes. I was texted by him. He said he was having trouble getting in, and then he texted me and said he was in, but I don't see him on the attendance list yet.
Yeah, I gave him the phone number and the conference ID, and then I emailed him back stating, asking him what his number is, but it doesn't look like he's called in.
Okay,
So,
if not, I will be able to, I think, cover everything that he would otherwise be able to provide, or I can tap him in by my phone here.
okay, it looks like, yeah, he may be out there as an attendee and not realize it.
Mm-hmm. So if anybody looks at, I'm actually taking a picture of my screen so I can send it to our IT people, because this is the second or third time where I'm cut off with the names below the photographs and I don't know how to adjust it without knocking myself out.
Yeah, you might want to minimize it in the middle, Carl, top right corner.
Okay.
you can minimize it, or just where the two people are, you can hide the participants and that widen the screen. Either way.
Is that minimized?
Is that better?
No, I haven't done it yet. Oh, what's right over there?
Up in the top right corner.
Yeah, I know, but I just didn't help.
Okay, try on the right where it shows the people that are present, names. You can maybe click on that and remove it.
All right, hold on. Catherine's going to do this for me. Thanks.
Does this make it better for you? Is this better?
Okay. Yeah, I got to do sometime today, probably a motion for authority to sell that car. Oh, there we go. That works. Thank you. I don't know what you did.
Do we have everybody back here, Mr. Chair?
I think, yeah, Brad's muted. I see Neil. Neil's muted. Yeah, we can get started. I don't know if we have Tammy, actually. Tammy, we do have. Okay.
Yes, I'm here. You can go ahead.
Okay, let's call the next case. Thank you very much. It's let the record reflect it's 9:44. Going to consider the case number 21-0013, dealing with property located at 935 High Free Pike, located in West Jeff. This is a London Building Department jurisdictional matter adjudication, and that adjudication number is noted on the docket. Let's have an introduction of the parties, beginning first with the representatives for the appellant. State your full name, please, then spell your last name so we have that down for the record. In the capacity by which you're here representing the appellant, we'll do the same thing with the building fire official and the appellee, I should say. And then we'll have an oath administered, and then I'll get a waiver to proceed in front of a board of 4 rather than a board of 5. Mr. Harper?
Yes, hello. Scott Richard Harper, Harper Architectural Studio. Last name is spelled Harper. And I am here representing the Catholic Diocese of Columbus on this appeal.
Okay.
With me also, I'd like to state, and he was having problems getting on the Teams meeting, but is also Rob Shore, who is a representative of the Diocese Facilities Office. And he is on speakerphone here with me.
Yep, okay. My name is Rob Shore, SCHORR, and I'm the Associate Director of Facilities for the Catholic Diocese of Columbus.
Okay, very good. So you're not physically with Mr. Harper, but you're patched in on a speakerphone, correct?
I'm patched in on his phone, but I can watch you guys do my. I accidentally signed in as an attendee.
Okay. No worries.
So we do have a call-in number as well too. If you want to call in directly, so you could participate directly instead of through Mr. Harper's. Mr. Chair, I don't know if it's worth the effort to do that. I don't know if Tammy is able to hear speaker phone through Mr. Harper's computer onto here or not.
Yes, I could hear him just fine.
Yeah, I say we stay the course then, if that's okay.
Okay.
I agree.
And Mr. Perkins?
Alan Perkins, Perkins. I'm a contract fire plans examiner for Jefferson Township and West Jefferson.
Okay, and I understand that Mr. Hale will not be present, correct, Susan?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. Well, gentlemen, if you were on before, you probably heard this, but our 5th board member is not available today due to a scheduling conflict. Notwithstanding that, Mr. Harper, are you willing to proceed today in front of a board of 4?
Yes.
And Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Mr. Harper, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you
First of all, excuse me, let me swear you guys in first.
Yes, very good. Thank you for keeping that track. If each of you stand, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. All right, Mr. Harper.
Thank you very much. This is a church that was constructed about 16 years ago, and it's in the middle of a country field in West Jefferson, right off of I-70. The original church was constructed in 3 separate fire areas and compartmentalized to avoid a fire suppression system, which was nearly impossible on the site at the time. The parish hall, which you see on the east or right side of the page on the plan that was submitted, is roughly about 3,800 square feet in its fire area. There is an existing fire wall, which is right in line with the kitchen and the restrooms that you see on the west side of the parish hall. That firewall is existing and was originally in the original construction, which compartmentalized the parish hall. As you all know, in the last 15 years, there's been a new code requirement that if you exceed 99 occupants in an A2 use group, you then are required to have a fire suppression system. And that is the section that we are appealing, both, I believe, items 1 and 2. The proposed addition to this is an outdoor open air pavilion, which you see in the document that we sent over in the floor plan, that would be between the east wall of the parish hall, the enclosed portion of the parish hall, and then to the east beyond that wall. In the original construction documents submitted to the City of London, we had a fire barrier at that location so that we would limit the occupancy to less than 99 in the new pavilion, but the existing parish hall would still have exceeded the 99 occupant requirement, and the occupancy in that space as originally approved was 225. So our appeal is to eliminate that fire barrier and be able to construct the pavilion without installing that. The firewall actually has a number of complications with the existing structure, and then would also require, in order to keep the natural lighting, coiling doors, or coiling window shutters, which is also a pretty big hardship in terms of the expense. We did reach out to Mr. Tom Hale and to Alan Perkins and Chief Chris Schneider with the Jefferson Township Fire Department, and we reviewed this long before submitting it to the BBA. And there were a couple of stipulations that Mr. Perkins had requested and Mr. Schneider had requested that the church is absolutely willing to comply with. The building does currently have an existing fire alarm system, but there were some additional requirements that were requested by Mr. Perkins, and I'll allow him to address that.
Okay, before we do that, then really quickly here, any questions of members of the board of Mr. Harper? You want to hear from Mr. Perkins at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair, a quick, again, just a clarification. So the variances request for the barrier is only between the pavilion and the building. Number one, just a clarification for that. Yes?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so there's no request for any barrier between any other of the addition that's happening on here.
No, there is an educational wing that is under construction on the west side, and that has been completely separated with a firewall from the existing structure.
Okay, and then the other question is regarding, there's a set of double doors that go out towards the pavilion side there. It looks to me, just based on the size of the parish hall, that is part of the means of egress. Is that
that is correct?
Okay, and so then we can ask the building and fire official, have you had any discussion about any, that pavilion being required to be separated from that to allow that egress to happen if needed, since we're not really separated?
Is that a question?
Has there been any concerns, right? I mean, if this was to be a fire barrier, for example, right, we would ensure that egress through those doors is protected from one side or the other. In this case, that is not going to be the case. So just wanted to see if you had any discussions about that door being a means of egress door.
Mr. Harper, you want to comment on that? Or you want us to defer to this?
We did not discuss that specifically. I think that the opinion, and please, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the opinion was that that could still be a legitimate means of egress from the east side of the parish hall with the removal of the fire barrier.
Mr. Perkins?
That is correct. That was one of the discussions I had with the fire chief last fall when we did a site visit for the church. I had some concerns, and that's one of the reasons why we looked at implementing or adding a fire detection system in the actual parish hall area, was because we were egressing more than 50% of the capacity of that hall in through the proposed pavilion area. So that was a concern that we had, and when I talked to the fire chief. And we had looked at, when I did the initial review for this also, is that I told Chief Snyder that I had obviously concerns, looking at the future maintenance of the fire barrier as far as maintaining rated doors and so on. And this is one of the things that we looked at as an alternative to eliminating the fire barrier, potentially, was looking at what can we do to supplement it. But that was a concern for us, is egressing through that. We looked at it from the standpoint that the pavilion was open on all sides. That was what we looked at. So,
any follow-up on that, Paul?
No, other than also noting too, means of egress are, getting people out of the building, search and rescue, and attacking fires is another issue. There is a, 8 feet there, and just want to make sure that the fire official has taken a look at it, saying, yeah, we would probably use that door to facilitate our search and rescue or to attack a fire, or not, and we're happy and comfortable with the clearance and space that's provided there.
Comments, Mr. Harper and or Mr. Perkins?
I'll defer to Mr. Perkins on that.
yeah, we were satisfied with the spacing.
Okay.
Questions of either Mr. Harper or Mr. Perkins, Brad or Neil?
I do. I get the whole purpose that we're talking about is this open air pavilion. Is that correct? And the distance between that and the existing building, and whether or not a fire barrier needs to be required in the existing building due to the to this open air pavilion. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would create one fire area, including the pavilion, and then the occupancy load of that fire area would exceed 99. And there is a section actually in chapter 34 that talks about separation and the need for fire suppression, that if you have a fire barrier separating those spaces, the existing building can remain and the new building can remain without fire suppression.
So that existing wall is not a fire barrier, well, because of the windows and the doors?
That is correct. It was never intended to be a fire barrier from the beginning of the original construction.
To make it a fire barrier, though, would be putting, I don't know, some kind of closures on the windows to make them fireproof.
That's correct. That is correct. Yes. Yes, and it would involve constructing a new fire barrier to the inside of the existing exterior wall because of the nature of the truss construction. Any fire barrier there would then have to go up to the underside of the roof deck.
What's the purpose of the, this pavilion anyway?
Outdoor gatherings in the appropriate seasons.
So they don't like have grills out there where they're cooking and stuff like that?
There's no intention to put grills under the pavilion. There may be a potential of them putting or doing grilling in the grass area.
So it's not, is there electricity out there in the pavilion? I guess there is probably.
There is power, convenience outlets.
Okay.
Neil?
I don't really have any questions. I just, what is the reason for not putting up the fire barrier? What is the hardship? Just expense?
It would be expense. The estimate for that right now is about $60,000 to $70,000 to put that in, including coiling doors.
And what is the cost of the pavilion?
The pavilion itself, I believe, is about $500,000, somewhere around that.
And what's the distance from, I think it was mentioned, between the parish hall and the pavilion, around 8 foot?
8 foot 8 inches to the center line of the first column.
Yeah, see that. What's the roof height of the pavilion?
The roof height matches the existing eaves, so it's roughly at about 10 foot 6 inches.
And that's at the lowest part?
That is at the lowest eave, yes, sir.
That's all I have, Carl.
Okay, what are the thoughts and sentiments of members of the board moving forward here?
Let me ask just a few more questions, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. What's the construction of the pavilion?
The pavilion is it's a 5B construction type.
So it's all wood frame?
It's all wood frame, yes. As is the parish hall. The main church, however, is a 2B construction type on the west side of the firewall that divides the parish hall from the main facility.
Okay, and then and this is the direction that Mr. Smith was adding and asking, right? Obviously, there would not be any concerns about conditionally, putting in that there's no cooking or portable heaters permitted underneath there. I assume that's correct.
Yes, I think that would be acceptable.
Yes, that'd be acceptable.
And then what does happen with these, and we've had these happen in the past. I assume the intent is to keep this open air, and you're not going to be doing temporary enclosures with canvas or plastic or anything like that.
That has not been discussed. No.
Okay. I don't have any other further questions. I think I could be supportive of a variance, Mr. Chair. Conditionally adding some of the items, which I think we need to go over again with Mr. Perkins and Mr. Harper, so that we have a full documentation of that. And then, prohibiting, cooking and enclosure and portable heaters and things like that.
Okay. Do you want to do that in discussion format, or do you want to do that?
Well, no, you had asked all of us to kind of give our position. I don't know if Neil and Brad wanted to do so as well.
I just wanted to, I'm sure you probably saw the fire official's letter, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to. No, I would probably be fine depending on what the conditions Paul writes up are.
It's to you, Brad.
Yeah, with the conditions that Paul was mentioning there, and the support of the fire official, which he had, we incorporate his conditions as well, and no objection of the building official, I could support it, the variance.
And likewise, let's you want to go off the record for a second, Paul?
No, I think probably some worthwhile kind of going over these items that, as far as the request to modifications to the existing building. So again, we have just a clear understanding of what is being asked.
Okay.
Right there, I mean, modifications to existing alarm systems and you know, how's that can be done and all those things, just so that we have on the record, a discussion of those items other than, hey, we're just going to do what's said in the letters.
Mr. Harper?
Alan, would you like to go over your stipulation? The second one was obviously, the second bullet point in Chief Snyder's letter was self-explanatory, and that's going to be removed. But the first portion of it, I think you would be better to explain what you were looking for.
Sure. I think knowing that had this addition, and I'm talking about the parish hall been constructed today, we would have been looking at a sprinkler system. And had we received a variance for that, we would obviously be looking at a fire detection system, you know, that would provide us obviously early warning in the event there's a fire there. But I think right now we're just looking at area protection in the common areas. And that would include obviously the kitchen, which may require heat detection radarized, or as an example. And then obviously the parish hall would have some type of open area smoke detection in that area. But I'm not really too sure. When we visited the site last fall, that we were looking at, you know, attic spaces or areas above suspended ceilings at the time. That wasn't really something that we considered, but I think for the most part, we were just looking at the below ceiling, getting open area protection.
Okay, so those spaces would be the parish hall, the kitchen. How about the pantry room adjacent to the kitchen?
Yes.
The pantry room, just to be clear, is on the other side of the firewall. The existing firewall actually goes between the pantry and the kitchen, but certainly the door could be left open, so it would be appropriate.
Okay.
That has a closer on it, and it is rated, but I'm just saying that, you know, that does translate to the kitchen.
Okay. And that's why I was asking that as well too. And then, yes, I understand the corridor between there is, I just wanted to ask if that was a room that we wanted to have detection as well too. Again, I wanted to be as you know, clear as we can to in here. Obviously, we'll leave it up to the satisfaction of the building and fire official to where those exact devices are, but wanted to understand that extent.
Thank you.
Any questions of either Mr. Perkins or Mr. Harper? Okay. Hearing none. Paul, do you want to go off record?
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Brad, you look like you unmuted. Is there anything you wanted to ask?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Tammy, we'll go off record for just a minute.
Okay.
without going back on record, let me just do this. With respect to the Canton Fire Department case, Mr. Norman, did I hear you were on earlier?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And is Mr. Robinson present?
It appears that he has,
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, very good. And then who on behalf of Canton Fire is present?
Canton Fire Inspector Andrew Cron and Attorney Kelly Parker.
Okay. And will that be the extent of the representation for Canton Fire?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Appreciate it.
What are they doing right now? Kind of writing up the stipulations?
Yes, they are, Rob.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's go back on the record, Tammy.
And as before, it may take me a second to get these up there, but I will give it a shot. I don't know why it wants to be difficult today. All right, here we go. So I put some conditions up on the screen. Those watching online, there's a little bit of a delay, but I will read through them. Variance is conditioned upon the following. Number one, an alternate fire detection system shall be installed and connected into the existing manual fire alarm. The fire detection system shall meet the requirements of NFPA 72 and include smoke detectors with integral heat detectors throughout the parish hall portion of the structure, including the parish hall, kitchen, and pantry to the satisfaction of the building and fire officials. Number two, the alternate fire detection system shall be required to be off-premise monitored in a manner approved pursuant to OBC 901.6 and shall be considered a required system and listed as such on the certificate of occupancy by the building official. Number three, the alternate fire detection system and off-premise monitoring shall be maintained as required systems utilizing the Ohio Fire Code and adopted NFPA standards. Number four, the sides of the pavilion shall be maintained open at all times and shall not be enclosed with any temporary or permanent walls or enclosure. Number five, no fuel-fired cooking appliances, including grills, are permitted beneath the pavilion structure at any time. Number six, no electric or other fuel-fired heating devices are permitted within or beneath the pavilion at any time. Number seven, the kick-down door stop holders that have been installed on the rated doors shall be removed to the satisfaction of the building and fire officials. Number eight, openings into the existing fire barrier between the parish hall and the main church structure shall be protected according to OBC section 716. Number nine, penetrations through the existing fire barrier between the parish hall and the main church structure shall be protected according to OBC section 714. And number 10, this variance is granted based on the use, construction, occupant load, project area, and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required herein. And number 11, the chief building official shall forward a copy of any certificate of occupancy to the fire department having either emergency response or fire prevention responsibility.
Okay, Mr. Harper, that was pretty exhaustive. Any questions, comments, need for clarification, comfort level?
I think we have a comfort level with that and we would accept it. No further comments or questions.
And Mr. Perkins?
Yes, the conditions are acceptable to Jefferson Township Fire Department.
Okay, very good. Paul, I think we could, I think someone could make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair. In that case, for Ohio Board of Building Appeals case number 21-0013, the appellant is the Catholic Diocese of Columbus. for the premises 9350 High Free Pike, West Jefferson, Ohio. The appellee is Thomas Hale, building official, City of London Building Department, and adjudication order number PB20-0053. I move to grant the variance subject to the conditions previously read into the record and noting the no objection of the building and fire officials.
Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Harper, Mr. Perkins, Mr. Shore, the variance is granted with those 11 conditions ascribed to it. Is there anything further, Mr. Harper, to come in front of the board?
No, sir. Thank you for your time today, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Perkins, anything further to come with the board?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Tammy or gentlemen of the board, do we need a break or do you want to move forward?
You can go.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, let's call the final active case on our docket today, and that is a Canton Fire Department case. It's case number 21-0019. It deals with property known as the Homeless Outreach, located at 1738 Tuscarawas. I think that's Boulevard, but anyway, in Canton. Let's begin first. I think we have Mr. Norman. You're appearing as counsel, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have Stephen Robinson with you, correct?
I do.
Okay, and then we have Mr. Cron, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Kelly Parker, who will be counsel, correct?
Correct.
Okay, if Mr. Robinson and Mr. Cron would stand, raise your right hand. Tammy, would you administer the oath?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and this is for Kelly Parker and Forrest Norman. We're a board of 4 today because our 5th member, who happens to also have a law degree, is stuck in trial unavoidably. So he's not present today. Is there a comfort level moving forward, or any objection to moving forward, I should say, today in front of a board of 4 rather than a board of 5?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, very good. Mr. Norman, you have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate the time today. I am representing the Homeless Outreach Team located at 1738 Tuscarawas Avenue Southeast. And the Homeless Outreach Team operates a church and provides religious services and shelter to homeless people, sometimes known as the hardcore homeless people, on an emergency basis. We were recently given a citation by the fire department based upon the occupancy, the certificate of occupancy, which is zoned A3 religious services. The occupant load is 85. The basis for the citation was the use of the primary fellowship hall room, which is a single room with direct access to the street. That is used as a cot shelter for 8 to 12 on some occasions. The citation was given. It has since been withdrawn, which raises a procedural question that I'm not sure what where that leaves us.
Okay, let me just Mr. Parker, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so far everything, I agree with Attorney Norman that it's not zoned A3, but it has a certificate of occupancy for A3. The issue in this case was that there are people sleeping overnight being used as a shelter, which you can't do under A3 religious services. That would have to have a change of use to either some type of R or some type of I, depending on what their ultimate intentions are with the property. Procedurally, though, I don't believe we have a case or a controversy here. The city of Canton went out and re-inspected the property 14 days after issuing the notice of the violations. and the fire department satisfies the property is no longer in violation because they removed all the cots there for sleeping purposes. So with it not being used as sleeping or overnight sleeping, there is no citation for the city of Canton to pursue.
Well, if there's no citation any longer, that's been, though the citation was appealed, there's no citation in front of us, we don't have jurisdiction. Paul, Neil, Brad?
Wouldn't they just withdraw the appeal?
Pardon me?
Wouldn't they just have to withdraw the appeal since the citation's null and void?
Well, I suppose they could do that as well, but we can't enforce a citation that's been withdrawn anyway. So it's probably, you understand that this actually be for Mr. Norman. It might be easier if the citation has been resolved, which Mr. Parker has indicated is that you're now compliant, or your client is compliant, and the fire department doesn't wish to pursue the citation any further. Then that probably moots your appeal, but would you be in a position to withdraw your appeal?
Well, that was one of the procedural questions I did want to bring before the board, because it puts the homeless outreach team in sort of a quandary. They removed the cots because we don't want to be in any violation. We don't believe that having the cots there would be a violation. So we want either some type of advisory opinion. I don't know if you can render that. I really don't. We would probably leave a cot there if there was a $10 a day fine and not $1,000 a day fine listed, and test it while we look at the other options. If there is a violation, we will then seek the appropriate variance or rezoning. If there is not a violation, we would like to be able to continue to service the at-risk population, particularly with the severe cold snap that we just had. I
guess the problem is, and you, one of the two of you, or maybe both of you who referred to this as procedural quandary, one, and I'll let my colleagues be heard on this as well, but we're not an advisory board. In fact, we claim not to be precedential, that we determine each case on its unique set of facts, and sort of admonish the parties not to view that as precedent the second time that they might come before us with maybe an addition on similar circumstances, because the code may change, the unique circumstances of egress or fire safety may change, and so we're not even a board of precedent. I just think that if the Canton Fire Department has withdrawn the citation.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the issue, Mr. Chair. The issue is that I believe Mr. Norman would put cots back in there, and probably plans to put cots back in there. And the only reason they did that is they can't afford to pay $1,000 a day fine.
Right. I know, and then the fire department cites them again, and then we're back in front of us. But
well, I would say that we should probably still probably make a case record for this, and maybe make some effort to maybe bridge the gap between these two, so that maybe there doesn't have to be a citation going forward. There could be some type of understanding or a resolution to happen, because otherwise it's just going to be a continual cycle.
I disagree somewhat. If the citation's been withdrawn, there's nothing before us. If they have to reissue a citation, then they don't withdraw it, they don't take the cats out, and it comes before us. But I mean, you would think the two parties could work out some kind of solution without our input, so to speak, or us ruling on something that's not even before us.
If I may interject, thank you. We've been communicating with Mr. Parker, and my client's been communicating with Mr. Cron. We're trying to do that, to try and, so they've been helpful in that regard, but we still don't have the answer to the question.
Well, the answer to the question, or the question itself, is whether or not utilization of a cot or cots would, in the view of this board, be something that the board would sustain the citation and perhaps ascribe some monetary sanction on even perhaps a per diem basis, or whether it would not. But you're really asking us to decide the question of a citation that's not in front of us, right? I mean, that's the only thing I'm just trying. What would we? What if we got to a stage? Let's just say we propagated the record here, and Mr. Norman, you put on your case, and Mr. Parker does the same. And if, Paul, we get to a deliberative stage, what are we deliberating on?
Again, this is one of those, for me, one of those cases that, okay, there has to be a solution to allow them to have homeless people stay in that place. Okay, if they have to take away the cots because they're fearful of a fine that they can't afford, then in my opinion, the right thing to do would be maybe to sustain the citation, right? To uphold the citation and then waive all the fines or make it $5 a day or something. Maybe even make a recommendation that the Canton Fire Department, when those people need to be in there, because they do need to be in there, that the Canton Fire Department would volunteer one of their staff for fire watch to belay the safety concerns. So again, the greater good in this thing is that there are people. I didn't even like walking from my house to my car last week, let alone have to stay overnight on there. So that's where I think maybe some further discussion needs to be had to this. I mean, again, if we kick it down the road, it's going to happen again, and it should happen again because, you know, this service should be available to those people who are in need. That's all.
Mr. Parker, by what mechanism was the citation withdrawn?
Inspector Crump emailed to the secretary of the board.
Okay. So, is there any dispute, or can we agree that there is no citation in play right now, Mr. Parker?
We can agree there is no citation in play right now.
And Mr. Norman?
Yes, I can agree.
And that's my issue, Paul. I agree with you. Something needs to be, you know, worked out here. But if there's nothing in front of us, I would hate to make a ruling or recommendation on a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, and if I
you just broke up on us. Is that Mr. Parker?
It's been explained to Mr. Robinson and his attorney that they can file with the building department for a change of use of that property. The issue becomes it's the sleeping of it. It doesn't have the certificate of occupancy for that. You can apply for a change of use. And references have been made to zoning. This isn't strictly a zoning and local issue. However, there are some potential zoning issues with this property as well, so they have to get in front of our local board of zoning appeals to use this as a shelter. And also, I understand everybody's concerns, particularly this time of year, and I share those. The city has emergency warming shelter.
Let me do this. We haven't heard from Brad Smith, who's on our board yet. I got to tell you, I because I'm worried about precedent. I mean, I don't know that I necessarily want to, as Neil said, you know, decide something that is hypothetical, that really becomes some sort of advisory And then, you know, in theory, there could be another citation issued and we might disagree. We might have different board members. And the parties may have acted on something that we hypothetically advanced, but I understand the greater good here too. But I think just as a matter of procedure, if we were a court, we wouldn't have any jurisdiction and the gavel would go down. The judge might admonish the parties to work things out as they leave the courtroom, but I just don't know what there is to deter. I mean, I think I agree with Neil on this and not so much Paul, but let's hear from Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Yeah, the way we listened to both parties argue their concerns in this case, say the citation went forward. Reading my initial thought was, yes, this time of year, we should try to work something out for people who need a place to stay, and maybe this organization is providing a valuable service. And I'd even written down, like Paul mentioned, maybe you could do a fire watch or something like that, temporarily providing shelter, sleeping arrangements. But at this point, we're not listening to arguments from both sides, and so it's hard to justify something that, as Neil said, is hypothetical, and it wouldn't set a precedent anyway. So, I think you could end up coming back to us anyhow. And as far as you're going to put cots in there anyway, well, that's between you and the fire department and the building officials, I think, to work something out. I'd rather leave it at that level than having us try to make policy. We're really not a policy-making board. I think you guys need to talk to your local officials and work something out. I mean, if you want to change use and go through the process. I mean, it may be costly, but you have to think about the protection of the people we don't want to put people in harm that are maybe sleeping overnight in a building that's not safe. So,
well, I think that was well articulated, Mr. Norman. I think you've heard the views of really all of the board members here in terms of the sort of greater good and the need to see if the outreach center and the Canton Fire Department can come to some sort of resolution on this moving forward, and whether that's through the building department and the change of use or whatever. So, to the extent that gives you some sort of advisory issues moving forward, or perhaps sensitizes or softens the fire department's view to sit down and talk, I think you got something here. But if I understand Neil and Brad, there's nothing to determine here. I heard Mr. Parker say he doesn't believe there's even a case or controversy here, and I would agree with that. The issue then would be, does Mr. Norman even need to withdraw his appeal? And if he does, then there's nothing for us to deliberate on. But nothing, Mr. Norman, precludes you from contacting Ms. Steer, who is our executive secretary, and ordering up this transcript.
All right, well, I thank you. If it makes it easier, then I will say we'll withdraw the appeal at this point. We'll proceed to try and talk some more with Mr. Parker and Mr. Cron.
Okay, I think that probably does then conclude this hearing on that matter. Mr. Parker, anything further on behalf of Canton Fire?
No, thank you.
Paul, anything further?
Not really. Nothing more than I've already said. I mean, I understand Brad's point, right? We don't want people staying in a place that's not safe, but if the choice is staying in a warm place that may not be totally safe, or outside where it is not safe, I think you would choose inside. So again, there's a greater good that has to be here, and hopefully the fire department doesn't want to see a headline that says fire department throws homeless people back outside, and work through some way to allow this much needed ministry to continue to operate in some form or fashion.
Okay, I think that's well said as well. Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. That concludes this hearing. And you can sign off or you can stay on. We have just some ministerial business to take care of. That concludes our active case docket.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will say for the record, Tammy, if you would for a minute. All right, someone needs to. Okay. All right, someone needs to mute. All right. Our Hillsborough case, which was set for 10 o'clock today, case number 20-0033, has been continued to when, I'm not sure, but that would conclude our case agenda today. Before we get to Susan had indicated that there's a sort of a shortfall for cases to be heard on the 2nd of March, and wanted to know if we could look at our calendar. She said this before you, I think Brad was on the phone, I think, but or was online. I don't think Neil and Paul were at the time this morning. I wanted to know if we would look at March, the week of the 8th, and then the following week, like the 15th. Is that what you said, Susan?
Yeah, either of those weeks just allows more time for requests to come in.
And I had indicated, I did a quick look, and I could accommodate a day in one of those 2 weeks.
Yeah, I could do the 8th or the 9th.
I could do the 8th in the morning or the 9th anytime.
I'm good with both days.
Let me hold on real quick then. Let me. Yeah, I would be good either day.
All right, I would say start for Monday then.
The 3/8.
Yeah.
All right, someone needs to mute. I don't know what.
That's Brad, that's you. Thanks. 3/8 at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll get with Chip. I sent him an email, but I haven't heard back. He's tied up, I'm sure. So I'll double check with Chip, and if so, we'll go with 3/8. Thank you for an additional week.
Okay, and then can you send out an invitation sooner rather than later? I think like on the 2nd, I got that invitation. There was some lag time, and I'd already set something up in Cincinnati that afternoon. So
okay,
I'll try to block that off. Okay, is there a motion to approve minutes from our last hearing predating today, which was February 11th?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, well, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? So minutes for our February 11th hearings are approved. Do we have a motion to approve compensation for our attendance today and our preparation for today?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Is there any other new business, Susan, or others?
I don't have anything.
So real quickly, I'm looking, and this popped up randomly, but I've got currently in this meeting 6 along the right side of the screen, and I'm the first name on it, but it refers to me in parentheses as a guest. And then Paul, Neil, Brad, Susan, and Tammy. Oh, Tammy's a guest.
Yeah.
But the rest of you are not labeled as a guest. Any clue why I'm a guest?
The guest is your email from the law firm. If you came in,
okay.
They must have came in under their state email, Paul and Neil.
Yes.
Okay.
And Brad. You're under, as a guest, you're under your law firm.
But it was insignificant because I really was able to participate without any restrictions, right?
The guest is just an external email address. It means that it's not a state email address.
Okay, so it's not like an attendee.
Correct. Guest just means an external email address is in the meeting.
Okay.
And really, we only let you participate, Carl, at our whim. So.
Well, I know that someone's the Wizard of Oz behind the screen with the cursor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to.
Actually, when I do the invite, just so you know, all of you, there's 2 email addresses that it goes out to. Your state as well as your personal.
I have no idea what my state email address is.
I don't either, so.
I didn't even know I had one.
Anyway, Susan, I may have someone get a hold of you because I had big problems and a unrecognizable email address came up for me to log in today, and somehow we got logged in, so I need to get that fixed.
Well,
so I have our IT department work on it and see if they can do it. If not, they're probably gonna have to get with the state's IT.
Okay.
So someone from my office may be contacted.
So on the 11th, because Susan will occasionally email me and she'll say, you know, like all parties are here for the next hearing. You know, so I get that pop up, but on the 11th, her emails were like 45 minutes behind. She would send me one for like the second hearing of the day. I'd get it during the 4th. And it was like 40, so I don't know what was going on there too. But you sent those to my law firm email. Or do you send them both? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing further, we are now scheduled. I was going to announce. Well, it is Wednesday, so our next hearing will be a day and a half from now, or 2 days from now, February 24th, beginning at 8:30. And hearing no new business or other business to come before the board, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, folks, we stand adjourned. Tammy, thanks for your help. Glad you were able to log on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And
Thanks, everyone.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
for reminding me about getting those people sworn in on that one case.
Oh, not a problem.
Okay, thanks. See ya.
See ya.